So the big news is Warren Buffett is dumping more things, not just airlines. And what we found out this week is that Warren Buffett has now dumped the majority of his Goldman Sachs shares. He just did a huge public dump of Goldman Sachs. He's also trimming his JP Morgan shares, actually trimming Amazon. He dumped Phillips 66. He dumped Travelers. And then we know that he has sold all of his airlines. So he continues to just go to cash. And here's Goldman Sachs chart. We'll take a look. This is Brian Lewis with MMT Investing, and things just changed. So you can see here that in January, Goldman Sachs was already coming down, and then we get the crash here. Feb 20 is the general crash. So the financials and Goldman Sachs kind of led into the crash, and this is kind of a good indicator of a market turn down related to kind of a contraction, because the financials will kind of lead into it. But we get this same kind of crash shape that we got with the general market. 238. So yeah, this is a pretty good size crash, about the same. And it got a medium, low to medium bounce on Goldman Sachs, pretty similar to the financials in general. We'll jump over to the financials in a minute. But yeah, Goldman never really rallied that much, and they got a peak here and have kind of been trending down and looking to see if on the technicals, this is relatively bearish looking formation here, but let me flip through the MACD here. On the hourlies, it's bearish and looking to stay bearish down here. And let's go out and let's go way out. Let's check some stuff out. All right, so weekly, this is long term, and this is bearish and staying bearish, really long term on the year to year kind of outlook. And yeah, dailies. Okay, so we've turned over and we were in bull territory here, and this is pulling down into bearish territory, and we'll see if it bounces up here, that would stay bullish on sort of the monthly cyclical level, and if it pulls down across into this territory, that would be bearish. So this looks like it's trending from bullish to bearish sort of on the cyclical level, and then we can hop through some shorter ones here. And so this looks bearish and staying bearish. Bearish, maybe getting less bearish. And already so this looks like it's bearish and it's going to stay in bear territory and possibly even turn over in bear territory on sort of the weekly forward look. And then let's get into like a 15, I guess. And so we have the whole weekend here for this cycle to kind of play out. And this is bearish and getting more bearish, kind of leading into, where are we here? So we got the weekend, and then yeah, okay, so just leading into close, it looked pretty bearish. And so I think this is kind of a big statement on the entire financial system, though. If Warren Buffett is dumping banks, and he's going to dollars. And man, so Goldman Sachs is one of the primary banks, and it's pretty well known to be one of the riskiest primary banks. And he got kind of a special arrangement when he acquired them. And so I think this is not exactly one of his normal bank holdings. It's a riskier bank, and he was providing them money when they were kind of in trouble. And let's go over to the XLF and just kind of look at the financials in general. So I think this move to trim banks right now could be in response to the those interest rate futures going negative. If the market's projecting negative future rates, that's very negative for financials. And he could be seeing potential for negative or zero rates for a very long time, and just seeing banks as a really, really bad value investment in that type of environment, and just trying to get out of them now as a value perspective. I don't know if he would, yeah, yeah, that's not good for financials for sure. If Warren Buffett is dumping his bank stocks, those are his top stocks. And so, I mean, so Goldman Sachs is one of the riskier bank stocks, and he's just trimming a couple other ones a little bit, but he hasn't just like sold all of the banks yet. But he did sell Phillips 66 Petroleum. He did sell Travelers Group, the insurance company, and all the airlines. So he just continues to go more to cash, and this, indicates that he's expecting equities to just come down, and he's expecting um, commodities to continue to go down, and he's expecting probably negative interest rates. If he's getting rid of banks, he's probably expecting a bad financials environment. And so here we have the XLF, and can flip through a little bit on the XLF and just kind of look at the financials. And so look at this insane thing here. So this is what the XLF did during the crash on the very wide scale. So you can see here that this is bearish and staying very bearish for the moment on the very long term on the financials, and it just like ripped through the bottom side of these Bollinger Bands and didn't even get close back to the big moving average. And that's ugly. That's really ugly. And then on the on the dailies, we're kind of bouncing around. I mean, we got the drawdown, we switched over to bull, got a couple taps, then we've gotten onto the bear side of the bands, and we're testing the bottom. So we haven't started like pulling down on the bands or anything yet, but we got a crossover here in or in the bear side here. So this is very bad for financials. On the cyclical level, like over the next month or two, it couldn't make it back up into bull territory, and it has done a complete MACD flip in bear territory. That's super, super bearish. Bear flip. And here we've come down, and let's flip through some of the hourlies and try to get a look at it the next week or two. So that's just kind of bearish, staying bearish. Bearish, maybe getting a little less bearish. And bearish trying to come back up. And bearish coming up, but max divergence here. So watching to see where this might flip over and then get into some tighter ones. And this is getting towards the zero line and converging. So this is getting close to, this is kind of neutral, I guess, just kind of coming into sort of close in the 1 to 2 day range here. And this, we had a little bullish run kind of leading up to close, and it went down to neutral. So on the very short term, you can see it just kind of did a little bull pop and just kind of got neutral here. And we have a 2 day weekend here, and a lot of bearish looking things for the financial sector, just on the technicals and the cyclicals, without Warren Buffett selling all of his stuff. So that's a monster. Buffett selling banks is a monster. And we can go out and take a look at the cycle. So just kind of on the inflation and cyclical level, we have this credit contraction cycle zone here where we got a pull down and we got this kind of rounded bounce, and we're trying to see if we can end the credit contraction cycle here, or if there's a little bit more to go, and whether or not we get back up to here, or right here is my target for right now, and that's probably not the end of the cycle. We'll probably see some more stuff after that, but we have kind of this rounded shape, and just looking for, well, on the financials, I don't really know. I don't know exactly where the target would be. It might be a little bit lower than even on the financials. It might be a little higher than even on some of the other charts. The financials are pretty bearish. This is one of the most bearish sectors, I think, just flipping through. And so just kind of this rounded kind of cup shape might come down below even, and some kind of shape like that for a downward target before we go and figure out what's going on and where we are in the cycle, if we have more time left or not. Because this cycle might have started a bit earlier due to the health situation, and we just have an outlook to switch into a credit expansion phase in the next quarter. So that's a 3 month window, and usually it'll be towards the beginning of that. So I was looking at the beginning of June as sort of the outlook for where to switch into the next cycle, where we would reverse into an expansion kind of phase. So that's kind of the outlook on the financials, and they're very, very bearish right now, and they're not that high. I don't know if it's not that much room to fall, like 20 to, yeah, something like that, 20 to 15. And well, it's only at, yeah, something like that, 20 to 16 or something. I don't know if the immediate downside outlook on this is that negative, maybe 25%. I guess that's pretty negative. Like maybe a 25% sell off down to a point where we can kind of take another look. Um, but yeah, it looked that bear side flip and everything else kind of going neutral or staying bearish here. It looks very bearish to open Monday and throughout the week, next week. And so this XLF is one of my top short positions that I was getting coming into close on Friday. Just kind of flipping through the charts and finding something that looks like it would open down possibly on Monday. And so we'll see what this thing does. I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of gaps down because of the weekend. And we'll have to take a look at all the sectors Monday and see what we're getting, because this is kind of a crazy critical spot where we're getting a lot of action. I guess that's probably a good look at the just at the stocks here relative to Warren Buffett selling some banks. I'm going to do a lot bigger review on the whole world financial system, but this is just kind of the U.S. banks and U.S. financial sector. And Warren Buffett is getting out of it, so that's pretty nasty. Oh yeah, please hit the like button and subscribe. And this is not financial advice. Happy trading.